It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Okay, Josue's question is using a brokerage account a good way to save money for college instead of 529 plans?
So can you use a brokerage account to save for college? Absolutely. You certainly can. It's not a bad mechanism to do that. But when we think in the world of optimization, there might be a better strategy there. When it's time to save, you can save in a brokerage account, and as you buy and sell and as interest pays out and dividends pay out, you pay tax all along the way. So there's going to be some natural tax drag on your rate of return on that investment account as you move towards college. Enter this amazing vehicle that exists where you can do a 529 plan to save for college. Well, now you can put dollars in, and depending on the state in which you live, you may even get a tax deduction for those dollars that you put in. That money will grow, and as you buy and sell and have dividends and interest pay out, there is no tax drag on that investment rate of return. And then when your child gets to college age, you go to pull that money out, you can pull it out completely tax-free for qualified educational expenses. So there's not a hurdle to get over. There's not a drag on those dollars growing. So when I think about saving and providing for college, brokerage is an idea and it is a solution, but I would argue specifically for college saving, 529s are the superior vehicle to satisfy that long-term savings goal.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I have a daughter who's a freshman in college, and I was shocked when I saw what has happened in her 529 because there has been definitely multiple five figures of growth in the account from my contributions. And I just love that it's going to be tax-free because I'm going to pull that money out and I'm going to pay for my daughter's college, after her scholarships and so forth. There's still a bunch of components that will be funded by the 529, and it's going to be 100% tax-free. That's powerful because if I paid with that brokerage, there's a good chance that, yes, I'd have to have the money in the brokerage account. I'd have to invest in the brokerage account. And then even if I was, investing for the long term, when I needed to actually pull that money, I'd have to go sell something, probably at a very large capital appreciation. And then when I sell it, it's going to have a tax burden.
That's right.
Plus, I love the fact that these 529s, a lot of them are age-based portfolios. So it was super aggressive when my daughter was a baby. Now that she's a 19-year-old woman, her portfolio in these 529s is super conservative. So all this volatility that's occurred in 2022, she hasn't been crushed because they did a really good job of bringing down the volatility by having, more than half of the accounts pretty much in cash equivalents. So that's one more benefit. So I love 529s because you get, in a lot of states, that tax deduction. You're getting the tax-free growth if you're using it for education. And then you still have access, even if you don't use it for education, it's just you pay income taxes on whatever those gains were, potentially a penalty, but a lot of times there's so many great opportunities if it's vocation school or passing it on to a relative to where you don't even have to do that if you structure it right. So don't miss out on that maximization opportunity because brokerage accounts, yeah, it's liquidity and it's easy access, but there is, as Bo said, a way that you can maximize or optimize the opportunity here, and that's using 529s.
And then Taryn asked this great question to go. He said, well, what happens to the money left over in a 529 if it's not used? A lot of people have this fear that I'm not going to be able, what if my kid gets scholarships or doesn't go to college or whatever? That's okay. The money that you put into a 529 always comes back to you. No harm, no foul. If you have to end up pulling money out that's not used for qualified educational expenses, then yeah, you'll have to pay income tax on that as well as a penalty, but it's only on the earnings. It's not on the money that you put into the account. So yeah, it's not ideal, but it's also not the worst thing in the world.
But clarify, like if your child goes to college and they got, if they got an athletic scholarship or like my daughter got an academic scholarship that's a 5-figure academic scholarship to offset some of the costs of her college, I could pull out that 5-figure amount every year from her 529. I would have to pay income taxes on the gains, but the amount that's under the scholarship limit would be not penalty-free. They actually give you an exception. If your kid gets a scholarship or, whether it's academic, needs-based, or academic, that amount of money can come out of the 529 penalty free. And then don't forget, your kid, even if they don't go to college, more than likely will do some type of training or have a relative, like a sibling, or even them, a child of their own that they could roll it into another account and they could benefit tax-free. So there's always going to be opportunities in the future. Don't stay away from this thing because you're worried about the penalties.